Alright, so I've got access to this document, and this is covering the person named Kanin on YouTube, otherwise known as 2.K9er, Sleepy Speckles with an extra E on the end of speckle, or Sleepy Kanin. There's an obvious warning for ableism, transphobia, panphobia, fatophobia, eating disorders, little stalking, R slur usage, which I will not be repeating. Do not ask me to say that slur. Ever. Anti-theism / anti-religious, suicide, self-harm mention, talks of obesity, and lesbophobia. Kanin uses he, they pronouns. Also, their Reddit username has been censored. A lot of them contain events on their account. And they've deleted their Reddit. None of their posts can be found easily. So this part covers their ableism. To start off, Kanin made a video regarding the topic of self-diagnosis and how he was against it. The topic of self-diagnosis is a great topic. Quite frankly, I'm self-diagnosed with ADHD because it's a pain in the ass to get to a fucking specialist. I'm on the waiting list currently, but Jesus fucking Christ, it's gonna take at least 6 months just for me to see a specialist about it. It's true that there are disorders out there that are pretty much impossible to self-diagnose. Dissociative disorders make it hard for someone to realise their symptoms and have to be seen by another party. It doesn't change the difficulty many people have with getting the diagnosis. Here are some people sharing their stories in the comment section. Obviously, these are all censored names. Hey, I can understand the concern with people faking mental illness, but a few bad people shouldn't distract you from the fact that getting diagnosed is incredibly hard. I self-diagnosed my depression for 3 years because I was afraid of getting therapy and afraid of my parents being concerned about me until I was convinced to just ignore it because self-diagnosed bad. Afterwards, I finally got into therapy and boom, diagnosis. As a note, personal here, your boy is diagnosed with depression. That's not even the start of diagnosis being a privilege. Therapy is expensive. People with class B personality disorders are often ignored by psychologists due to negative stigma. People assigned female at birth often have their ADHD symptoms ignored. And people generally stigmatised mental illnesses are often denied jobs because of it. There are plenty of people who research their symptoms and try to be as accurate as possible. Anti-self-diagnosis just makes people ignore their symptoms. Personally, my family will not get me treated or mentally evaluated due to them not entirely believing I have anything. However, I only believe I have these issues due to the overwhelming amount of people stating they feel I may have these. Plus, my mother is diagnosed with some of these issues I claim I may have. I don't know if it means in trying to be special since I hate being in the limelight, but I just want to get checked. Self-diagnosis can give people answers. Growing up, I've had various symptoms that link to ADHD, not because someone told me I had it or because of some internet quiz. The symptoms I've had have been with me all my life, and an inability to focus on various tasks, choice paralysis, etc. It wasn't until I met some people online that made me realise that I may actually have ADHD because their experiences were practically identical to my own. The only difference is they actually got a proper diagnosis. Why did I never get a diagnosis? Well, it's because my parents didn't believe the disorder existed and that people can grow out of various disorders. Not everyone can get diagnosis right off the bat because of many, many different reasons. In my case, I lived in a neglectful environment. My parents didn't believe anxiety was a legit mental illness and always dismissed it as me just living my life in fear, and they didn't think I had ADHD because they thought I was lazy and just needed more structure in my life. So obviously they weren't going to get me the help I clearly needed, and the only way I could figure out what was wrong with me was through my own research and talking to people with similar experiences. Yes, self-diagnosing can help, especially for those who can't have access to proper healthcare. I self-diagnosed myself with misophonia. Misophonia is really new to the medical community, so it's not really recognised by doctors or even my own counsellor. It's stress caused by repetitive noises. For most people, if you hear someone clicking a pen over and over, you're just like, oh, that's annoying. But for me, I've become very stressed by the noise, and it gives me this feeling in my stomach like it's flipping over. Even if it's not misophonia, it's some sort of sensory disorder, that's clear. It's not normal to avoid situations just because someone is making a small noise. But over quarantine, I couldn't see anyone about it. Luckily, lately my school counsellor has dealt with several misophonic teens, and she says I'm similar to the formerly diagnosed people. You think I'm right to assume I have misophonia? I'm sorry if I got anything wrong, I'm just trying to make sense of my issue. These are all comments on their videos or something. Someone who literally used to hate self-diagnosing themselves, but did it for certain things. It does help you, actually. I didn't get diagnosed fully as autistic until I was 16, but I was pretty fucking sure I had it for pretty much all my life and actually asked others for their opinion, etc. Getting diagnosed with certain illnesses such as DID and schizophrenia can make it less likely for you to get a good job and people will act like you're dangerous. Change that, then we'll talk. These points are all valid. People assigned female at birth have difficulty being diagnosed with ADHD. Source here. Mental health diagnosis is incredibly difficult, with the majority of people being misdiagnosed by professionals. Because of this, many people end up going undiagnosed. An example of mental disorder that is hard to diagnose is borderline personality disorder, otherwise known as BPD. The majority of reasons why BPD is hard to diagnose is due to negative stigma surrounding it. Even by people with disorders in the cluster B personality disorder spectrum. It should also be noted that a majority of people who self-diagnose do want to be diagnosed. A diagnosis is unfortunately not something that is readily available for everyone, and it is due to multiple reasons. Unsupportive family members, lack of finances to seek diagnosis, or medical insurance not covering therapy, fear of being rejected. Person may be seeking diagnosis, yet the symptoms are hard to identify. The condition a person may have is rare and new to the medical world. The unfortunate truth is diagnosis is a privilege. It will often take a long time to finally reach a diagnosis. People who self-diagnose are not taking resources away from those who are fully diagnosed. Even if a person does misdiagnose themselves, having similar symptoms is enough reason to reach for support, as similar symptoms will be treated by the same advice/coping mechanisms. Self-diagnosis is a step towards a professional diagnosis and is very much valid. Now, Kanin has invalidated multiple people who have spoken with their own stories. Also, like I pay my taxes and voted for Bernie, so I'm doing pretty much everything in my power to get free healthcare. For like 100th time, not having access doesn't grant you a PhD. I'm sorry if you can't see a doctor, but that doesn't mean you can make the determination that you know what you have, as I even served at any point. And I'm annoyed because it is not a real argument. If you had something of substance to say, it's fine, but it's petty and a non-argument to go pay for my diagnosis. It will. Their reaction to the criticism they've received is very immature. Edit, this part will no longer be used in the map as people are whiny bitches and couldn't handle having someone anti-self-diagnosis in the same map as them. No shade to censored. They didn't want to start controversy with their map, which is 100% understandable. And I have no hard feelings to them. But if you're in this map and whined about being in the same one as me, you need to leave your damn echo chamber and realise the world doesn't revolve around you. Even adding on, Kanin has made an ableist joke regarding Helen Keller. Norasaki Kortzer said, Damn, they really got salty over you saying, hey, maybe don't diagnose yourself. Trust me, you'll get used to it. Don't ask me how I know how. Oh, for fuck's sake. Don't ask me how I know XD. Kanin Cotton replied with, people apparently are all Helen Keller and can't see the text or hear the audio. And even as he continues to talk negatively about people who self-diagnose and calls them fakers, he posts this. Fam, shut your ass up. You're an adult and a singlet, yet here you are, pretending to switch because you're cosplaying a character with the ID. Kanin is a person on the right, while the person on the left is responding to him. There are various other duets saying the same thing as the person on the left, and the original TikTok on the right, and the account it was hosted on, has been deleted. Kanin continuously accuses people of faking BPD. BPD is incredibly hard to live with. The person making the call outpost has it themselves, but that doesn't excuse this shit. Just because someone doesn't show symptoms every part of their life doesn't mean that one, they're self-diagnosed, and two, that they're faking. Unless someone comes out and says that they are self-diagnosed, you cannot make assumptions. Yes, BPD has made my life harder, but it is possible to be happy with it. By continuing to hammer in the life-ruining aspect of it, you make people with BPD feel even worse. Continuously hear this has been bad for my mental health. It convinces people that with mental illness you will never get better and life will only get worse. Yes, I make jokes about it because humour is a coping mechanism for many. Happiness does not equal faking. The screenshot here shows signs that he is not in a good place and very much needs support. As for another important reminder, you are not required to give out your diagnosis history on the internet. Kanin has also used the R slur and even defended the usage of it, insisting that it isn't a slur. Jesus fucking Christ. In this image, he continues to make fun of self-diagnosis as well as making fun of trigger lists and neopronouns. The inclusion of unusual triggers is again ableist. No matter how weird a trigger may be, you don't know what trauma someone has endured that something may seemingly so simple may be a trigger for them. For example, something as silly as Jello might be the remnant of having to go on a purely liquid diet during a hospital stay. I've actually seen the post regarding that. I also understand that people who publicly post their trigger lists are not being safe, but to mock them is not the mature way to inform them. And hypocritically enough, they also have a trigger list on their card. And no, I am not going to post a trigger list either. He also posts on R fake disorder cringe. R fake disorder cringe. It generally feels hypocritical to believe that people who self-diagnose are only doing it for attention when you also publicly post this. And this as well. I'm vodka gender, I'm an alcoholic anorexic who 99% consumes vodka. My gender relates to this. Hence, vodka gender. Transphobia. Kanin is a transmed. Transmeds hold the belief that all trans people have to have dysphoria. This is a false idea. While gender dysphoria is a large part of the trans experience, it is not something that every trans person experiences. Ultimately, what makes a person trans is gender euphoria, the comfort a trans person feels with their gender. I can confirm this as I don't really get any dysphoria. Only in regards to my voice, which is why I don't edit this sort of video. And only in regards to how I'm socially viewed. Mayo Clinic, transequality.org. And they're also fucking self-admitted female to male subs that don't allow too cute moga etc. people. I cannot seem to find a sub for female to male people that doesn't think you can be non-binary and female to male, or that cat self as pronoun. I thought RFTM men was one, but after scrolling through the extremely unbearable RF to M FTM, it seems like a lot of people there use it, and honestly I'm not sure I have the self-control to use a sub filled with those people and not spend all day arguing or just getting banned. Person who uses it, and Z0 making fun of Transmed plus his gem of a comment on the vids. Its pronoun is it's not even a word at all. It's not a word, it's a pronoun. Kanin also insulted trans people who are unable to transition. You cannot make any bit of assumptions for anyone. There are plenty of transitioning people out there who have difficulty passing, and they are just as valid as trans people who can pass. By saying this, not only did he continue to push cis-normative ideas, but also may have caused dysphoria for those who have trouble passing. Passing is a privilege. Transitioning is also a privilege. Insinuating that people who have difficulty passing are faking is heavily transphobic. Kanin is also ignorant towards transmasculine people who don't bind. Aside from medical reasons why a person might not bind include unsupportive families, not having enough money to buy a binder, or just discomfort that comes with wearing a binder. Feminine trans men is still present male, but if they're not binding, assuming there's no medical cause and extenuating female features, that's different. Same goes for trans women. You can be more masculine and still not have facial hair. On repeated occasions, they are also anti-neo-pronouns. Things we don't support here now are pronouns, homophobia, transphobia, pushing religion, preaching more than 3 genders, deleting comments. They're also panphobic. Egg says now the neo pronouns are not the same thing and you can't just change the meaning of words to be quirky. God. There are even instances of Kanin posting in xenogender spaces just to make them feel unsafe. Most people who use xenogenders and neo-pronouns are neurodivergent. With that bit of information, Kanin also accuses people who use them to be faking neurodivergency with no reasoning other than I don't like them. Stop pretending to be disabled to prove a point challenge. God. There's literally no proof that people would be faking. Kanin just throws false accusations, which is ableist. The audio is incredibly mean and is about serial killer. Oh, hang on. Screenshots of a TikTok duet between Kanin and another TikToker. Kanin is the person on the right while the person on the left is disapproving their claims. Song uses True Crime by Penelope Scott. Lyrics shown are, and he was so fucking sure that he had the right, but he's ugly and I'm glad he's dead, because there was no fucking candle in his pumpkin head. You're not special. The audio is incredibly mean and is about serial killer. Linking something that dark to something so light-hearted does no real harm. The pronouns is meant to invoke negative feelings. In the image below, a Redditor made a post education people on xenogenders. Someone else shared it to our xenogender cringe. Below is 3 people commenting on the shared post, with the bottom post being Kanin. fucking hustler. God. There is also this image regarding the gender of Danganronpa character Chihiro Fujisaki. Here's a link that explains why this is a problem. Why trans femme Chihiro belittles her character and her trauma. Bullshit. Kanin is also fatphobic, which is very real. Most of his posts were regarding fat and obesity. Oh, for fuck's sake. Sure as fuck do love this stutter I have. Love his genetics. Golly. Anyways, most of his posts regarding fat and obesity conflate the two together when they are both different. Just because someone is fat does not mean that they are both obese. Fuck's sake. I'm about this close to losing it because of this fucking stutter, honestly. Many people are fat because of genetic reasons, because they are born that way. There are many people out there who are fat and healthy. It is also a dangerous belief to spread, as it implies that being skinny is healthier than being fat. Being underweight is much better, and being very underweight is also very much unhealthy. Source here, which is from the NHS. Oh look, a cutesy character saying that fat phobia isn't real. Yeah, very activist of you. Golly. The fact that nobody seems to talk about the health issues that come with being underweight, yet continue to attack the overweight, continues to feel hypercritical. Just because an outside factor causes something doesn't mean it's not a disability. Type 2 diabetes is a disability, trauma-related disorders are disabilities, psychosis caused by outside factors like drugs is still a symptom of a disability. Thinking that disabilities can only be something you're born with is a very ableist way of thinking. With that logic, it would eliminate a majority of disabilities. That also doesn't change that obesity is in fact can be caused by certain medical conditions. Of course, obesity is not always considered a disability under the ADA, but it should be noted that in cases where it is caused by an underlying physiological disorder or condition, obesity is considered a disability. Above we see Kanin again equating fatness to obesity, when again they are not the same. None of the above images talked about obesity. God. Kanin has also encouraged eating disorders. Edit, because I forgot to add this, I should mention that the below comment comes from someone talking about Kanin, not Kanin himself. He has done the things the below image talks about. Encouraging eating disorders and making pro-ana content, posting calories, body checks, vaping to suppress appetite is not a healthy coping mechanism. Anti-theism. Oh boy. I want to start section off with saying that if someone is personally uncomfortable with religion, then that's valid. There are many people that have experienced religious trauma, especially involving Christian-based religions. However, that does not at all excuse invalidating anyone's religious beliefs. Religion is not inherently abusive. It should also be noted that many religions have been oppressed, such as Islam and Judaism. Hating the majority does not erase your hatred of the minority. Just because you hate all religions does not erase your anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. People have not gone through years of religious persecution just to be told that their religion is harmful. Religion is a huge part of culture, as well as a comfort for many people. And before anyone comes at me for this, I should mention that I am an atheist. Or rather, the person that made the call out is an atheist. Below are some examples of Kanin's anti-theism. God. I'll be leaving the link to this call out in the fucking description. The description, yeah. Now a repost made by Kanin on the Christian subreddit. This fucking image. As shown by the other two comments, he had gone out of his way into a religious space just to invalidate their beliefs. And here Kanin insists that anyone who freely joins a religion is joining a cult, which is very much false. There's this image which is just all around weird. Keeps the character saying that you are literally all children. Why do you think what you say matters? Oh my god. Kanin has also claimed to be a medical examiner and a fourth year medical school on a few occasions. Fucking hell. In the US, the average age of students entering medical school is 24. Kanin is 20. Kanin has lied about being a medical examiner and being in medical school. He's too young to be in medical school. He specifically has stated med school and not pre-med, as well as stating medical examiner. Fucking hell. He also likes Blair White. And various amounts of fucking LGBT phobia. Panphobic, thinks that being pansexual is not a valid identity. Hi, I'm panromantic. Images here. Posted on selfie between a couple and invalidates their identities. God. Asexuality and aromanticism are both spectrums. Jesus fuck. Aroace and lesbian. Right gender. Jesus fucking Christ. This is a comment by Kanin. And apparently he thinks that fucking cultural appropriation is not a thing. What? Anyways, the person that made the call out is staying anonymous. I'm not going to be revealing them.